So in today's video, I'm just going to be showing you things that I wish people told me before I started playing the game, or at least when I started playing the game, because it would have made it so much easier and so much better and just less frustrating. Because if you don't know these things, you're like, why didn't I hear where that person was coming from? Why couldn't I see that person at all? And why am I having troubles doing things like controls as fast as other players? So I'll show you these things in the video, just the most basic things to optimize those three things. Enjoy the video. For the first tip, what you're going to want to do is disable any surround sound settings that you have on Windows. So if you go to sound settings, go to anything, like whatever your main playback device is, and then go to advanced, turn off any Windows Sonic, look up just how to turn off surround sound for Windows. Make sure everything's set to stereo as well. And then once you've done that, delete any headphone software you have. I wouldn't recommend keeping it even on your computer because it might be doing something in the background and you don't know about it. So I would just uninstall it, because you can probably just install it again. You won't have to pay for it again if it came with your headphones. And once you have everything set to stereo, what you're going to want to do is turn on binaural audio. And the reason for all of this is because the game only outputs stereo sound. What surround sound will do is just put whatever compressors, effects that your headphone software does to try and make games that actually have surround sound, make things more clear, like footsteps, whatever. So you're going to want to get rid of that, because it'll make your sound like it's everywhere, because it just brings up all the sounds and then brings them back down again, basically. So then it makes the sound everywhere. And there's a very informative video that's been made by Veritas, and he is another Tarkov content creator, and he's made a video that's over an hour long about the curse of Tarkov audio, because it is cursed. It is not good, but if you do these settings, you have the best chance out of anyone else. And I didn't know this for a year of playing this. So if you use any software, you're basically pooped. So delete that. So for the second tip, controls. By default, Tarkov controls, you'll notice there's click to aim and toggle run. I don't have them set as the defaults right now, but basically when you first start playing like I did, you'll think that's how you're supposed to play the game, because it's a very different game, but it's not. So what you're going to want to do to make it much easier to run and aim, as if you're playing Call of Duty or something, you're just going to go to your controls, go to this right, press type, and for example, aim, I'm pretty sure it's press, you're going to go to continuous. So it works as you press the button. As soon as you release, it stops working. Continuous. It's the same thing with running. It's a great idea to do that for running as well. And just go through all of your controls and just mess around with them until you find things that work for you. That's what I did when I started. It took me a while to figure out what works well, but for example, I have left CTRL, and I have mouse button 1, I have 2 buttons above my thumb on my mouse. So the left CTRL on that, it'll check how much ammo is left in my mag, because this game doesn't display how much ammo you have. And the mouse button 2 above my thumb and CTRL will clear the chamber, check chamber, because you'll get gun jams and you'll have to do something. You'll have to make a keybind to inspect weapon and then clear the chamber, because you have to inspect what's wrong with the weapon first. So for me, that's left CTRL, middle mouse button down, And as I was saying before about the sound, so this game is in stereo. So obviously I already told you about the surround sound issue, but how to hear direction even better once you've done that is click your mouse button down, your scroll mouse button down, and then just move your head side to side. And I don't have my game audio on, but when there's people around, this will help you locate sound because the game is stereo. It's very difficult to locate sound without it moving around, what's picking up the sound, basically, which is really cool because it's basically like your character actually has two ears that are like working in the game rather than like just hearing sound around an object. So it's kind of cool. For my next tip here, it's how to see better basically in Tarkov, because I'll just show you what it looks like default without any NVIDIA settings done. Default, restore defaults, apply. So pull up your NVIDIA settings and just mess around with the brightness and contrast until go in offline mode and do this until you can see things better in the dark. This is what I did. So I put my brightness up to 57. This is what works for my monitor. I put my contrast up to 67, and then I put my gamma up to 1.08. I put digital vibrance up to 100 because this game is very gray, and then along with my setting of my monitor, it looks pretty much like black. So I do that. It probably looks a little more colorful to my recording than it does on my actual screen. That is after, and this is before. So it's a decent difference. It makes it so, at least I think, you can see better in the dark. Along with all the post effects settings I have, these are my graphic settings for my setup that I have. You would probably do yours completely different. This stuff changes all the time, by the way. I wouldn't turn up the sharpen very much. It kind of, I think it uses more resources. I have a 3060 Ti and I can barely get like great frames on Lighthouse, like without, for example, like aiming down a scope, and my game stutters a bit. Like my settings now are the only way that doesn't happen. But yeah, sharpening kind of just makes the game look terrible. But these are Pastilles, almost Pastilles post effects settings. So I would just experiment with that, experiment with this, look at what other people do for their graphics, because for your setup it'll be a lot different depending on like if you have what kind of card you have, your CPU, everything else. One more sound setting tip. You don't have to do any of this except for, I would say, interface volume, because say you're packing a mag, like I don't know, I don't have the sound enabled, but it makes a loud sound when you have it at full. So I put it at 10 so I know like kind of what I'm doing in my inventory if for some reason I don't realize. And also it's just super low so I can hear footsteps around me. One more thing for graphics. I would say have your field of view lower, because you think having a high field of view like playing an FPS game is useful, but just for Tarkov's purpose, it's very different. So you want to be able to have a further view, just like all the time. Images that are far away will look closer. So it'll help you be able to see people running up on a hilltop, and you wouldn't have even seen it before on like full. Like you'd see someone probably up on a hilltop crouching down on this setting, getting ready to snipe you, and you would have time to react and maybe scope in and hit them first, or just get to cover or something like that. Versus if it was high up, you probably wouldn't even see the shadow like way up on a hilltop. You would have no idea and you'd just get headshotted. As well as that, I would say my DPI is kind of high for my mouse sensitivity, but just have your sensitivity low, because a lot of the time you're having to aim with iron sights, all these other things, like all these sights, like you need to have good control, and low sensitivity gives you good control. If you have high sensitivity, you have very bad control, because pretty well, if you play this game a lot, you have to train yourself to basically hit eyes only, hit the face only, and that's most of the time like the only way you're gonna win fights is if your first bullet hits them in the eyes or the face, or like any bullet. Otherwise you hit armor, legs, everything, and they're still alive, and then they take you out, like hit you in the face. So low sensitivity. And other than that, I would say everything else in the game is like you just learn with time. These are just the basic things that I would say that just like you should know, honestly, before you know how to do like quests and everything else. Basically just everything that you affect and your senses are optimized after watching this video. And yeah, so everything else I would look up, or I might make more videos of hideout management things, how to do your hideout, what to sell, like what to keep, what to put in, like what boxes to buy, everything else. That's probably for another video, but that was just the basic things that I wish people told me before I started playing, because it would have made it so much easier to win fights, which is literally the main thing in this game, is PvPing scavs and players. So these things will help you do that, and I believe they're the best, most basic things that you need to know. Yeah. So thank you for watching, and have a good one. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought of the video. Peace.
I'm gaming!